You're listening to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, sponsored by Essentia Health.
It only takes one step, twist, or crunch to know something doesn't feel right. Essentia Health's orthopedic and sports medicine team gets you back to doing what you love with commitment, resilience, intention. We're here to keep you moving forward. Visit essentiahealth.org to learn more about orthopedics and sports medicine, like nowhere else.
Hello and welcome to Season 5 of the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat writer at the Duluth News Tribune and the Rink Live. I'm entering my 9th season covering UMD hockey for the DNT and the Rink Live. Also back for Season 5 of the podcast. We had to stop so he could do math to calculate the years he's been here. Welcome back, Mr. Zach Schneider of My9 Sports.
It's great to have things taped. Year 13 for me covering the teams. Year 6 doing the play-by-play for My9 Sports.
Year 6, our guest happens to be entering year 6. She's one of 2 Bulldog players remaining who actually predate this podcast yet. Helping us drop the puck on Season 5 of Bulldog Insider. It is Season 6, but she did take a sabbatical last season to do some light traveling around the globe. Welcome back to the podcast. She's got an updated resume as well here now. 2-time world champion, 2022 Olympic gold medalist from Deloraine, Manitoba, Canada, Ashton Bell. Welcome back, Ashton.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
This is the second time in the history of this podcast that we get to open a season with an Olympic gold medalist, because that's just how we roll here in Duluth and Bulldog country. Our very first guest on the podcast was Maddie Rooney prior to the 2018-19 season after she won gold with the U.S. in Pyeongchang, South Korea. I think we asked Matt, we started off this question with Maddie way back then. We'll start off with you, Ashton. Are you used, well, you got actually a bigger resume than Maddie. No offense to Maddie right now. But are you used to being introduced as a 2-time world champion and an Olympic gold medalist? I know the 2-time world champion thing is pretty fresh right now, but the Olympic gold medalist, are you getting used to that before your debut now?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it still sounds pretty surreal you saying that, and just 2 in this past year, 2 worlds and a gold medalist is crazy to even think about that we've accomplished that much in just a span of a year. So no, it's definitely still fresh, and yeah, every time you say it, it's pretty exciting. So
it doesn't get old.
No.
Ever.
When Maddie was on the podcast, she was fresh off North American media tour. Yeah. She was on, I think it was the Jimmy Fallon show, right, at that point.
Jimmy Fallon, Ellen, yeah. I forget what else. She kind of became the rounds.
She kind of became the face of USA Hockey in that summer after they won the gold medal. But what does the last year look like for you? Have you been doing media appearances? Have you been kind of showing off the gold medal around Canada? Yeah,
definitely. I think our team had a few events that we went to as a group, and we had our World Ring ceremony this past summer, and then definitely back home in my small community of Deloraine, I was celebrated back there, and just going around to the school, the rink, showing off the gold medal to the young kids back home who have supported me throughout my whole journey. So it was definitely very special to be able to share that with them.
Do you have a billboard up yet? Is there a billboard for you yet in Deloraine?
No, I have my jersey hung up in the rink and stuff, and on like our main street, there's a billboard, kind of electrical billboard there. So they had like congrats Ashton, and that was up for a long time. And even I went grocery shopping once at our co-op, and on the receipt it had congratulations Ashton Bell, 22 Olympic gold medalist. And I didn't see that for the longest time, but that was pretty cool to see that as well.
The electronic billboard, I feel like, is smart because your career is still very, very young. Yeah. It's kind of like when we were talking to Maddie at this point, like your career is still, you're just at the start of your hockey career. Now they don't have to like keep replacing that billboard as you rack up the accomplishments there. Can you go anywhere in Deloraine without someone asking, like, do you have your gold medal on you? Can I see it?
I mean, for the longest time when I was home there, I would kind of just keep it with me low-key in my truck just in case someone did want to see it. But, I mean, once I hit the school and the rink and then held a little event there in June, I pretty much had seen everyone that I wanted to see and that wanted to see the gold medal. So it doesn't take too long to show the whole community the gold medal.
How big a town is Deloraine?
Just over 1,000 or just under 1,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be our new Irma. We need a new hotspot, a new small town love of the podcast with Irma being a couple years old now.
I actually thought really hard about Clint, Austin, and I, our photographer at the DNT, road tripping to Deloraine this summer because you had an event there. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the event that you put on after winning the gold medal there, the roller hockey tournament, right?
Yeah, so I put together an event called the Don Diedrich Memorial Road Hockey Tournament to honor Don, who was my mentor growing up and a big supporter of me throughout my whole career and wouldn't be where I am today without him. And yeah, he passed away over a year ago and just wanted to hold an event to honor him and to raise money for youth sports in our community, which he was a big believer in. And yeah, it was such a big and had so much influence on so many kids in our community. And yeah, just wanted to grow the game. So just to be able to give back to that sport and to youth sports in our community is huge. It's huge for me. So
yeah, I contemplated trying to get Clint and I to go up there. I'm glad I didn't plan it because I got COVID like 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been allowed into Canada or couldn't travel anyways. What was it like for you as an Olympic gold medalist being able to give back to your community like that and honor a mentor of yours, Coach Laura Bellamy, that shared the story of him being flown into that ice rink, mm-hmm. the pond rink in, I forget what, middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. It was such a cool story. He sounded like such an awesome guy. And he wasn't just involved in hockey either, mm-hmm. right? Don was involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, he was involved in youth sports, baseball, hockey. His big passion was hockey, though, so he was always at the rink helping kids develop their game and held breakfast club two mornings a week before school. So we would be out there on the ice with him and just love sharing his knowledge and his passion for the game. And yeah, so that was very special to be able to share that moment in the community for his family and just for kids to be able to come out and to play road hockey and for me to be able to play with them was really special.
It sounds like he was a great ambassador, right? Mm-hmm. And most hockey players, whether they reach, Olympic gold medal status or not, typically have one of those people or several of those people in their lives. So I think UMD does a good job of it by encouraging you to be ambassadors of the game and to be out there in the community here in Duluth. But now you're an Olympic gold medalist. And does that role of being an ambassador for the sport in your home country grow now? Does that responsibility grow for you and everybody else who is on that team to make sure that other young girls, young boys, whatever it is, have that dream too and can hopefully follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, definitely. I think our team does a great job of getting out into the community and growing the game and being an inspiration to young females and young males in the hockey community. And it's definitely a role that I take a lot of pride in and want to do to my best of my ability to be able to give back to the sport that's given me so much. And just with the event that I did there in June, and I was also going to lots of just hockey camps, summer camps, helping out, coaching in any way I can there, and eventually want to start my own hockey camp back home in the summer as well. So that's definitely on the radar and something that I think is really important to give back.
Is that natural in your personality, or is that something you've kind of grown into maybe since arriving here at UMD 6 years ago? Is that something that you've kind of had to grow into to being kind of outgoing and part of the community, or is that something that you've always just kind of done from your early days?
I would say just growing up in a small community, and I think it's kind of something that was instilled in me at a young age, just being out in the community, being a role model for young females in my high school years, being part of the U18 national team. I think that's kind of where it all kind of started, is being a role model for those girls. And yeah, it's definitely a role that I take a lot of pride in, and being a part of Duluth and Bulldog hockey and how much females look up to us as Bulldogs as well. It's definitely just grown since I've been here as well. So,
Ashton, what has the transition been like for you, going from Olympian and national team player back to being a college student athlete, a Bulldog captain back here in Duluth for your final go-around? What's that transition been like? Because I've talked to Olympians, not only of UMD but other schools. It's a transition. It's real. It can be tough sometimes to adapt back to college life. For you, what's that been like so far?
Yeah, school has definitely been interesting. Taking a year off school was really nice, and just being able to focus on hockey is kind of what I enjoy. Just putting all my attention towards hockey. So kind of getting back into the groove of studying and having to take some time away just to focus on school has been a challenge. But hockey-wise, I'm really excited for the season. I think I've learned and developed so much as a player this past year, being centralized and stuff. So I'm just excited to bring all those experiences back to this team. And we have a great group of girls, and they're coming off a huge successful season this past year. So yeah, just excited to get going again with them and to represent the Bulldog again.
Are you a grad student this year, or are you continuing your previous degree that you started?
I'm continuing my
You're
previous,
continuing.
yeah.
Okay. And what are you working on finishing up the degree in here?
So I was a biology major with a chem minor, so I'm finishing that up, and then I added a coaching minor as well to have some more classes to take. So yeah, I'm actually really enjoying the coaching minor right now.
Is that a majority of your classes right now?
Yeah, that's all the semester is coaching classes, and then next semester I'll just have a biochem lab left, which will be eye-opening, but we'll see how that goes.
We're going to start a fight early on between the women's coaching staff right away at season 5 here. Who's the coach you go to for advice on your coaching classes?
I went to Lou actually yesterday. I need to do some coaching hours, so I asked her if she knew anyone where I could go help volunteer coaching at. So yeah, I would say I would probably go to Lou for some coaching advice.
That would be the right person you're looking to get coaching hours. Lou is connected to anyone and everyone in the greater Minnesota area here and everything like that. The transition, I remember when Maddie came back, it was a pretty new roster after her year away. Still have a ton of former teammates here, thanks to the fifth year rule. Heck, you still even have a teammate from that 17-18 season, and Naomi Rogie, who also just won't leave school ever. Can't wait till she's back for a 7th and 8th year. How much does that help, at least on the hockey side and maybe even on the academic side, to have, people you're still very familiar with on this team? It's not like you're stepping back onto an entirely new team.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was huge coming back, just knowing so many of the girls still and having so many great experiences with all of them. They're my best friends now, so be able to come back and to play with them for my 5th season is really special. And for the hockey aspect of it, I think this group has so much experience, which is really important in once you get farther down the road and in those big games, those big pressured situations that this group has been in a lot. So I think just having that experience will definitely be an advantage for us going forward, and hopefully getting back to the Frozen Four. Those experiences will show up big in those moments. So
yeah, you mentioned the success that this group had last season while you were centralized, getting back to the Frozen Four and the national championship game. And I know you were in the Frozen Four the last season that you played for UMD. Didn't get to the championship game that season, but watching them even from afar and seeing them get so close to the championship. Obviously, you want to be a part of that, and you would have been super happy for them had they won. But do you even feel a sense of unfinished business? I know everybody who played in that game who's back is going to feel a sense of unfinished business. But even you watching from wherever you were that day, do you feel like there's something yet to prove on the ice this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think, watching that game, it could have gone either way. They were so close to winning, and I felt their heartbreak, and I share that with them from losing the first time we made in the semifinals there for the Frozen Four. So I definitely think there is unfinished business, and if anything, it just fires us up more to get there again this year. And it being in Duluth, Minnesota makes it even more special to be able to do that on home ice would be so cool. And I know this group is very excited for the season to start. So
it's happened before in UMD history, winning the national championship in Duluth. And obviously you'll play the national championship anywhere you go, but the idea of having it in Duluth, even if you hadn't been to 2 straight Frozen Fours as a team, that would be a pretty motivating factor. But it feels like, this is not just talk, that this is the expectation that you're going to be in that tournament this year. Yeah,
definitely. I think every time we step on the ice, just from our first official practice yesterday, we have a high standard and a certain expectation to show up every day and to compete and to show up and compete on high intensity. And I think yesterday it showed that, and I think every day it's just going to keep getting better as we're looking towards that end goal of being in the Frozen Four again. So
what's the pressure like now for this program? You've gone to back-to-back Frozen Fours. I don't think anymore the Bulldogs are considered an underdog in the NCAA tournament, or that it's like this long shot that they're going to be playing in the Frozen Four in Duluth. Like, it's an expectation now. I think you guys, the players, expect to be there. I think a lot of the community probably is now expecting you guys to be playing, the Frozen Four at home and competing for that national title. How is that pressure different? Maybe you weren't here last year, but how's that pressure different from like that first run you guys went on to the Frozen Four?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a certain type of pressure. I think we wouldn't be human if we didn't put pressure on ourselves to get to the Frozen Four again. Having been there the past two now, I think there is that expectation that we're going to be in the Frozen Four again, and I think we're very much capable of doing that. And like I said earlier, we're an experienced group. We know how to handle that pressure now, so I don't think that's going to slow us down in any means. And yeah, we're just going to take it day by day, focus on the process, and let it take us where it takes us, and hopefully that is in the Frozen Four at the end of this.
You have a unique perspective on pressure and expectations because you just put on the Canada hockey jersey.
There is no
for an
jersey
Olympics.
that comes with more pressure.
Right. That's an expectation that any Canada hockey team in whatever tournament they're playing in, men or women, comes away with whatever trophy, whatever medal they're playing for. So did UMD help in that? Was that an expectation that you were ready for, or did that take some getting used to once you were named to that team to understand kind of what the expectations were when you got to the Olympics?
Yeah, that's a funny point because hockey is everything in Canada, so we are expected to always bring home the gold. But no, I think UMD helped with that a lot. I hold myself to a very high standard, and if anything, that's just grown here at UMD. I want to do as best I can for this program and get it back to a national championship game, and to bring home a national title is one of the goals left in my career that I want to accomplish. So yeah, I think when you have a team that kind of rallies around pressure and sees it more as a positive, that you can use that to your advantage and can be really successful if you handle it correctly.
Matt mentioned some of the former teammates that you have from before you left that are still here this year. How motivating was that? We kind of knew that you were coming back. That was the plan when you got centralized, that you were going to come back and play this season. We didn't know about some of the others, the Gabby Hughes, the Emma Soderbergs of the world. Even Naomi Rogie was maybe somewhat a question mark about whether she was going to come back and play this year. To see all of them back in the locker room this year and know that you're kind of all here for one thing, to make that run, hopefully, how motivating was that over the offseason to see everybody choose to come back for one more go at it?
Yeah, it was definitely extremely motivating. Again, it just adds to the experience and the history of this program. Sods took a little bit of convincing, but once she decided to come back, that was definitely huge for this program, and for Gabby, Maggie, Ani, Taylor, Rogues to all come back is really special, and we just want to continue to push this program and get it the recognition that it deserves. So yeah, we're looking forward to this season.
Were you part of the convincing committee for Emma Soderberg?
Yeah, it took a little, when I came up here for their Ohio series, I think it was before Christmas, I definitely pulled her aside and talked to her a little bit to see where she was at with it all. And yeah, I like to think I had a little helped her make that decision to stay. So take some of the credit for that one.
Was it just then, or was it like a consistent effort throughout the season to try and get Emma to come back? Because when the season ended, she had kind of told everyone that she had went through the senior day activities and everything, that she was done and she was stepping away, though I think there was always a hint that maybe she could come back. It didn't come from Emma. It came from, every other Bulldog we talked to. There was a large committee of you lobbying her to come back for another year.
No, I think I definitely sent her off some texts here and there, just seeing where she was at, checking in with her. So I was definitely very persistent on trying to get her to come back. So.
All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more with Ashton Bell. The Bulldog Insider Podcast is brought to you by Essentia Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. They're proud to be the team physicians for the UMD Bulldogs and provide sports medicine care to more than 25,000 student athletes in the community to ensure they can compete at the highest level while protecting their long-term health and athletic futures. Thanks to Essentia Health for their sponsorship of the Bulldog Insider Podcast.
Hey there, my name is Wyatt Buckner, and I'm the host of the Duluth News Tribune Minute Podcast. Hear the most important news of the day, including weather and sports from Duluth, Minnesota, and from around the Northland. Join me and my fellow reporters as we take you through the local news you need to start your day. Episodes are released Monday through Friday and are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for supporting local journalism.
Hi, I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Explore Superior and Douglas County history with me on Archive Dive, a monthly podcast available at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm Matt Wellens, along with Zach Schneider and our guest, Ashton Bell. Ashton, as we mentioned, you've not only been playing hockey the last year, but literally traveling the globe with Canada. You were in Beijing for the Olympics. You just got back, what'd you say, last Monday?
Yeah.
Was it last Monday from Denmark from the World Championships? Did I miss any other countries outside of North America that you've visited in the last year?
We went to Finland once during centralization too.
That's right.
Just for a quick trip. So
just quick trip to Finland.
It was really quick.
Didn't get to see much of that.
No.
Do you like traveling, visiting other countries and cities like that? Is that something you're passionate about and enjoy?
Yeah, for sure. I think the more that I do it, the more I want to keep doing it and exploring the world. Being in Denmark was really cool. It's such a unique culture and kind of environment out there. So I definitely enjoyed being out there. We got to actually spend like a week in Copenhagen before we went to Herring and actually did quite a bit of exploring in Copenhagen. So that was really cool and special to be able to kind of go take some time off and tour around Copenhagen.
I love following you all on Instagram. This is how I live vicariously and see the world is through all the Bulldogs that are traveling around right now. What's the more grueling road trip? The drive from Duluth to Deloraine or the flight from North America to China?
I would say the flight for sure. The drive from Duluth to Deloraine is a pretty simple drive. So
you've done it enough.
Yeah,
now.
I've done it enough times now that I still put it in the GPS. The girls will laugh. I'll still put it in the GPS just for my own being, but I do know the route now pretty well.
I mean, it's like a sanity issue, like just so you could see the time.
Yeah, I like to see the time
How long is the drive?
It's like 8 hours.
Well, that's not so bad.
No, not bad at all. But
that's like the drive that Clint and I will make, or the men's team will make to Omaha. But maybe, no, I bet you the drive to Deloraine, would you describe it as scenic? I feel like maybe it's more scenic driving Duluth to Deloraine than having to drive through Iowa.
I don't know. I don't know that drive well, but definitely from Duluth to like Bemidji is really pretty. And then once you kind of get to Grand Forks, the rest of the way is kind of just all prairie land. But
so you're saying it's not scenic from Grand Forks on?
No.
You have another long road trip coming up. You and the other Bulldogs. So a lot of you came back last week from Denmark. It was Emma Soderberg, Nina Jope-Smith, the new goaltender, Blanka Skadova, who was partying with the Czechs. Who parties harder, the Czechs with a bronze or Canada with a gold?
I would say the Czechs with the bronze. That was very much deserved on their part. So
well, they had a Pilsner sponsorship too. That there's like a tower of Pilsners I saw in their locker room afterwards. You guys don't get a ton of time here back in Duluth. UMD opens the season with 4 games in 7 days in New York. You take on Long Island University on Long Island, and then St. Lawrence and Penn State in upstate New York. Have you been to New York City before?
No, I have not.
So this is another new place for
Yeah.
you. Are you excited to be going back on the road right away here again? Or is there like, man, I wish I could sleep in my own bed for a little bit?
No, I'm excited. I think it's a great opportunity for our group being able to play 4 games early on before we get the season started in October against Mankato here at Duluth. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to do some team building on the road for that long and just to get some games under our belt before the WCHA games get started. So I'm excited to head out with the squad.
Yeah, players want to play games, right? That means
Yeah.
you don't have to practice that much early in the season.
The preseason isn't as long as it usually is, which is nice.
This is kind of, it's been because of COVID and the scheduling changes, you guys haven't had, well, you spent a year traveling, but even going back to your first senior year, there wasn't a ton of traveling. You didn't get these long road trips with your teammates anymore. How beneficial are these, especially early on in the season, even though there's so many of you that are familiar with each other already? Like, how beneficial are these to team building and chemistry and cohesion and such?
Yeah, I think they're great opportunities to grow as a group, and being on a long road trip like that where we're just focusing on hockey and getting to know one another more is very special, and definitely going to take advantage of that road trip. And yeah, just super excited to be able to go play games right away. So
Is it difficult for you, or maybe this is something that people like Matt and I just read too much into sometimes, but as a player, is it difficult to go from Team Canada and how you're used and the systems that you run with that team back to UMD and what you're expected to do and the style that you're expected to play? Or are they somewhat similar, or are they very different and it just doesn't matter? It's kind of just hockey in the end?
Yeah, I think they're definitely 2 different roles. From the national team, I played more, that 7th D man, be ready when you are, energy player role. And then here I have a little more responsibility and I'm going to be relied on more, which equally are as important as one another. So I'm excited to kind of bring back my experiences and what I've learned this past year to the group, to the coaches. I know all the coaches are open to hearing what I've learned and what I found worked and what we could maybe implement into our game as well. So it's definitely different, but also just want to keep playing how I've played and bringing that high compete, moving the puck quickly, making decisions quicker, and the little details that I've developed this past year to my game as well here. So.
All right, Ashton, we're going to close this out with, can we get some travel tips from you? I feel like you are the most well-traveled now of all the Bulldogs. Well, I don't want to say that. Emma Soderberg's traveled the world as well here. I credit her for teaching me how to properly pack crowlers in your checked bag. That was a podcast episode. We went over that once because her mom loves Fitker's, I forget what, their wheat beer.
Yeah.
The apricot wheat, Fitker's apricot wheat. So if you go back to last season on the podcast, find one of our early episodes with Emma. She talks about how to properly pack a crowler into your checked bag, which Clint Austin and I used when we were coming back from Denver from the Loveland Regional last year. May have resulted in Clint's bag being a little overweight once we got to the airport too. Whoops. So some travel tips. On longer flights, what's your must-have on a plane?
Noise canceling headphones.
That's the one thing you can't live without?
Yep.
What about on drives?
Drives, I need a good music playlist. I love singing kind of the whole ride to keep me awake. So definitely a good playlist.
I was going to say drives. My thing is cords, so I can keep whatever devices I need plugged in. The noise canceling headphones, definitely game changer.
Yeah.
When I started flying with the team, having that to drown out that annoying neighbor in the seat next to you, which may or may not be Bruce Siskey. How do you like to kill a long layover when you're flying an airport? What was the longest layover you had traveling with Team Canada? Did you guys have some long ones or all charter flights? You're good?
No, they were all commercial flights, but
okay.
We were always kind of cutting it close, so we didn't have, it was more just grab food and get ready for the next flight. But if we did have time, I just go sitting down at a restaurant, getting a nice meal and me.
I got a good one here. My wife and I went to Hawaii last spring for one of her best friend's weddings, and our flight to Hawaii was delayed by, I think it was 9 or 10 hours. Oh, wow. And we were in Minneapolis still. I did not know this. They've got a golf simulator in the airport.
Really?
In Hawaii?
No, in Minneapolis.
Oh, in Minneapolis. Wait, Minneapolis has a golf simulator in the airport?
Yeah, we were in Terminal 1. We walked in. We're like, well, we're not going to leave because who knows with the flights, when if it could get pushed up, whatever. And so we're like, well, just kill time. We walked in. Right in front of us, golf simulator. That's where we spent the next 9 hours till we left.
Did you guys go through MSP a lot, Ashton?
Yeah.
Were you aware of a golf simulator?
No, I wasn't, but I'll have to let the squad know. I will be definitely hitting that one up.
I think it's in Terminal 1. So
Terminal
if you're in
1?
Terminal
Okay.
2, you got to make a little run over there, but it's worth it.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear that one of the teams, someone missed a flight because they're men's or women's team because they're in a golf simulator. If it happens,
awesome.
It's all Zach's fault. That's amazing, man. I've done 6-8 hour layovers because of weather in O'Hare before. The only thing you do is go to a airport bar, which airport bars are awful.
There was a bar there too.
There was a bar and a golf simulator. Well, there we go. There's the best travel tip you're going to receive on the podcast this season. We talked about Emma Soderberg having to bring crowlers of apricot wheat back to Sweden for her mom. What's the weirdest thing you've packed in a check bag or carry-on?
Oh, I don't think I have anything weird like that. I don't really.
No, nothing.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Can't really think of it. Nothing comes to my mind right away.
I once got stopped by TSA because I had a can of Tim Hortons cappuccino,
yeah.
the French vanilla cappuccino in my bag. But I had opened it because I had was using it while I think I was in Kalamazoo in Michigan. And yeah, TSA stopped and warned me to be careful when traveling with powders. That's when I learned to be careful when you're traveling. They didn't take it. I was able to keep it. Thank God that I brought my Tim Hortons back. But on long drives, you mentioned you like to control the music, huh?
Yeah.
So do you prefer being the driver or the passenger?
I would say probably the passenger, but I don't mind driving. I enjoy driving too. So
when you're the driver, do you have to control the music, or do you let a passenger, if you got someone traveling with you, do you let them control the music?
Yeah, I'll let the passenger control because I need to focus. We drove down to the cities this past weekend for Gabby's Sophie Squad event, and just all the lanes in the highway was stressing me out a lot. So I was just you control the music. I need to focus on what I'm doing. So
did you ever? I feel like we have to ask because it's a podcast thing. Did you ever travel in the famous Jalen Elms van?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
yeah.
you have?
Yeah, I had a few road trips in her van at Christmas time. We've had some pretty funny experiences in that vehicle. So, yeah, shout out to Jay's minivan.
The Jalen Elms minivan will live on forever. I heard it's no longer around. It'll live on forever in this podcast. I asked this question because it's like my biggest pet peeve. Like, what's the must-have amenity for you in a hotel room? I know you've spent a lot of time in hotel rooms over the last year. Like, for me, it's the mini fridge. If the hotel doesn't have a mini fridge, I'm like crushed. For you, what's that must-have?
I like to bring like a humidifier, or like my essential oils has now become like a big part of me when I'm at a hotel room. So
essential oils, the humidifier is also, that's number 2.
Yeah.
That's definitely number 2 when I'm out in Colorado. How long were you living in a hotel out in Calgary?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. For the Worlds, it was like 2-3 weeks. And then again, leading up to the Olympics, we went back to the hotel for another 2 weeks. Yeah, just to kind of do a big isolation before we headed out there. So
Ashton, last thing we'll close this out for this podcast out, this episode. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to coming back to the Bulldogs this season?
I mean, there's so much, but I think just putting on that Bulldog jersey again and playing for this team, the coaches, and with the girls is very special. So definitely not going to take any of it for granted and just taking in every moment of this season. So yeah, I'm excited.
We're excited to have you back. We're going to wrap things up there so we can maybe bring you back on this podcast later this season.
Sure.
I feel like we might have to bring her back with Naomi Rogie and quiz the two of them to see what they remember from like what was popular the fall of your freshman year back in 2017. Zach, can you remember what life was like back in 2017?
Can't remember what life was like start of the summer. So
no.
2017 feels like a long, long time ago.
Yes, it does.
All right. So that's all the time we have this week for the Bulldog Insider Podcast. Ashton, thank you so much for carving time out of your busy schedule to do this episode with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You can find the Bulldog Insider Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit therinklive.com and DuluthNewsTribune.com. Zach, what's to come for Bulldog hockey on My9 this upcoming season?
Well, we got 2 really good teams to follow again, so it should be fun. But same thing on the men's side. We've got 25 games on the schedule right now. 1 or 2 of those might switch over to CBS Sports once that schedule comes out. The women is really exciting for our schedule. We got 11 women's games on the schedule this year, which is more than double what we've done in a previous single season. So that team is expected, as we've talked about, to be very good. And the Frozen Four is in Duluth, so it's a perfect year to kind of expand our coverage on the women's side. So that makes 36 total games that we've got scheduled as of today, always subject to change.
It's a lot of games for you this year.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited to be in Duluth for the entire season.
And rumor is you're going to listen to hockey on the radio, maybe, too?
I think Bruce is back for what's got to be like his 67th year covering UMD hockey. So, yeah, he would like us to say that you can listen to the radio as well.
Thanks to our sponsor, Essentia Health, for their support of the Bulldog Insider Podcast. They've been with us since the inaugural season back in 2018-19, and they're back again this season. So we really appreciate their support of this podcast and our newsletter and everything we do covering the Bulldogs. And a big thanks to everyone who's listening. I don't think when Zach and I started this, we thought they'd let us do this for 5 seasons now, going into 5 seasons. We also didn't think Ashton would still be here in 2022-23 to kick off season 5, but we're stoked to have her back on the team, and we're stoked to be doing this podcast and bringing it to all of you. If there's something you want to hear on the podcast this season, let us know. Hit us up. I'm on Twitter at Matt Wellens. You can email me, mwellens@DuluthNewsTribune.com. Zach, where can they find you?
Z Schneider 218 is still my Twitter handle. That's the best place to reach me.
Ashton, where can everyone find you on social media? Your Instagram is one of my favorite. It's CEDIC. Yeah,
I would say Instagram is probably my top app to use right now. So don't know my username, but
just search Ashton Bell.
I think it's just Ashton Bell 26. So that's where you can find me.
All right, that's all this week for the Bulldog Insider Podcast. We'll catch you next week.
The Duluth News Tribune is proud to be part of The Trust Project. Learn more at thetrustproject.org.